Thank you to our men and women who serve in the United States military for your sacrifices to defend our country's freedom. With the 11th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Michael Williams, defensive end, Georgia.
Michael Williams, 5 sacks last year. 2 of those came in the SEC title game against Texas. He was a 5-star recruit from Columbus, Georgia. 14 sacks in 3 seasons after starting his very first game as a true freshman, and still very young, Mel. He won't turn 21 years old until late June.
Yeah, he had a high grade going into the season, Greeny. Then he had that ankle injury, left ankle injury against Clemson, came back from it and played and didn't shut it down. Continued to play, continued to be somewhat productive. I mean, he had 9 tackles lost, he had 5 sacks, he forced a couple fumbles. He looks the part of an edge rusher in the National Football League with his size, his long arms, 34.5 arms, and huge hands. What he needs to do is get a more repertoire of moves going, coming after the quarterback off the edge. I thought he played the run great. He has a strong run defender off the edge, but as a pass rusher, I thought a little bit more work. That pass rush specialist that these teams have, to get the most out of Michael Williams, folks.
He's got the things that you cannot teach, the traits, the height, the arm length, the ability to set the edge and play the run. We know he's technically sound playing at Georgia in the way Kirby Smart coaches defense. The only concern I have is when it comes to using those traits and getting to the passer. I didn't see much of a rush plan, Lou. I didn't see any moves besides the speed to power. He's going to have to continue to develop the moves, because when you get to the National Football League level, just the traits won't win. You have to have more than traits. You need to be able to have a pass rush arsenal. How are you going to beat the offensive tackle and get to the quarterback? John Lynch loves him. He loves defensive line. You're going to pair him with Nick Bosa, create 2 bookends. But is he going to be able to live up to this feeling as far as the pass rush arsenal? I want to see that.
Yeah, they needed to restock the cover in San Francisco on defensive line. This used to be, that position used to be the heartbeat of that football team, both lines of scrimmage, in fact, defensive and offensive line. They need to restock that. Michael has not produced on a consistent basis the way you would think his measurables should bear themselves out. Mel mentioned the fact that he was injured this year. He said himself, he played at maybe 60% most of the year. He's got to tie it all together. Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator now for San Francisco, has to get it out of him.
Michael Williams, the first player ever out of Georgia to be selected by San Francisco in the first round in the Common Draft era.
With the 11th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Michael Williams, defensive end, Georgia.
Daniel?
Yeah, Nick Bosa gets a running mate on the opposite side there. Leonard Floyd is gone. He departed in free agency. They also lost Hargrave, the defensive tackle. So they needed to invest, I thought, either in the offensive line or the defensive line. And in Michael Williams, they get someone who, if he'd been healthy through the entire year and through the process, I don't know that he would have even got to them here with the 11th overall pick. He got a little nicked up and hurt in that opening game against Clemson and wasn't quite right, although you saw the flashes as the year went along. Big time upside. I mean, he is going to be the first one off the bus, and that's saying something when you've got Nick Bosa on your team. He is a big time, great looking dude. He's got
Texas saw the flashes.
Yes, they did. There was those flashes. They just weren't consistent. I think it was health related. But he's very long. He's got long arms, and he uses that length. Here he is as a rusher. You see that long inside arm, able to get through and get to the quarterback. I like the idea of widening him out more. He had a lot of tight alignments in that Georgia defense. San Francisco, with their scheme, they will loosen him up. They'll let him rush a little bit from a wide 9, and he'll have a runway where all that explosive power will show really well.
You know, he was versatile for Kirby Smart, but again, I think that worked against him because he was better when he was wide in that wide 9. That ankle injury definitely slowed him down, but if you talk to the people around Georgia, they will say he was a great locker room guy, and you know that John Lynch loves those type of guys. And listen, can you go wrong with Georgia defenders in the recent vintage? I just don't think you can go wrong.
And you could see, having lost Greenlaw and Hufanga to the Broncos in free agency, they add a piece up front, an edge rusher for Robert Saleh, who's the defensive coordinator there again.
With the 11th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Michael Williams, defensive end, Georgia.
Michael Williams, a 2-year starter for Kirby Smart's Bulldogs. Michael and his family and friends celebrating in Atlanta. He's from about an hour and a half southwest of there in Columbus, Georgia. Played at Hardaway High School. Worked with renowned pass rush trainer Chuck Smith, who now works for the Ravens, to hone his craft. And he is a guy who had some injuries this year, but he was, when healthy, phenomenal. 14 tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage, and he loved to watch Myles Garrett, and that's a good guy to watch.
Yeah, well, I think Michael Williams, because of his size, he's 6'5", 260. This guy can play on the edge, but he can also play down on the tackle. You're going to see him right here, work his hands and feet, get a sack, you know, in the Texas game, which is very disruptive. He could be an inside rusher if he needs to be, which I think is very important. Pushing the pocket here, another sack for him. Guy's a good rusher. He can play the run. I like this pick. I think they need somebody opposite Boza.
Remember, Robert Saleh goes back to San Francisco as a defensive coordinator. What do you think when you think San Francisco really playing great? Not just defensive linemen, depth. They can stay fresh, just like you used to do at Alabama. This guy will add to that arsenal. You mentioned all of his size. He was less productive this year than I think we expected because he was dealing with an ankle most of the year. When he gets healthy, just a game record that can take a game over, especially if he's fit into a situation, Des, where it's not every down, but you move him in early in his career in certain down and distant situations.
For me, guys, I like to see players like Williams go up against first-round draft picks like Kelvin Banks Jr. And when he played against Texas, he had himself a hell of a game against Kelvin Banks Jr. 2 times, not just once. So, you know, he's going to bring the power, speed, and athletic ability off the edge. This is an excellent pick. You know what, Des? He had 5 sacks this year. Yeah. 4 of them against Texas in those 2 games. that burnt orange.
Yeah, but he was healthy in that game.
Right.
The thing I like about this guy is he can play in a 3-4 or a 4-3 because he can play inside or out. And I think that diversity as a player is really important defensively.
With the 43rd pick in the 2025 class, the 49ers select Alfred Collins, D-tackle, Texas.
Alfred Collins, the operative word is big, a 332-pound run stuffer with long arms. Lewis, you just can't move him at the point of attack.
We said yesterday that John Winston, general manager, was trying to give Robert Saleh some guys to work with, some foundational players to really lead this football team back to where it once was on both lines of scrimmage. They started yesterday with Michael Williams and now Alfred Collins. 6'5", 332 pounds, 34 and 5/8" arms. He can play everywhere from the 9 technique, the wide defensive end, as you see here, and to the nose tackle. He can play a 4 technique and a 3-4 if you needed him to at 332 pounds. He just has great competitive character. He never stopped. Against Ohio State in the playoff game, he just played to the very end, snap after snap, just trying to hunt down the quarterback, get separation at the point of attack, flashes upfield push as far as the pass rush is concerned. He'll pursue the football outside the tackle at 335 pounds. He's going to run out of gas now and then, but between him and Michael Williams, they now have some people for Robert Saleh to work with up front.
You know, when I watch him play, I think Chris Jones, a big 3 technique, a guy with long arms. We've seen Chris Jones slide out to the edge. He can be that type of pass rusher. A bigger 3 technique. We're used to seeing the smaller ones. He can be one of the bigger.
Yeah. All right. So the 49ers find their man.
With the 43rd pick in the 2025 class, the 49ers select Alfred Collins, D-tackle, Texas.
It's interesting to see how they're rebuilding this defense with the 49ers. Michael Williams in the first, come back with Alfred Collins. Both these guys are dominant run defenders, not necessarily known for their pass rush. You see glimpses of it with Collins, but this is a massive man at almost 6'6", 330 pounds. CD, he's about holding that point of attack, a very physical player. You can kind of see where the Rams have gone with a physical approach. Yep. It looks like the Niners are trying to mirror that here.
And 1 year of pure starting ability, right, Joel? Because he was sitting back behind some big guys. Devondre Sweat was there. They had some players. Byron Murphy in Seattle. They had some players, but this guy, I think, is a big, physical, massive guy. And now you've got to go ahead and deal with him in the NFC West.
With the 43rd pick in the 2025 class, the 49ers select Alfred Collins, D-tackle, Texas.
So Alfred Collins was part of a really deep defensive front the last few years at Texas. Started all 16 games a year ago.
All right, this guy is a really good first and second down run player, which 49ers need to improve the run. If he can improve his pass rush, he's going to be a three-down player. But you see him here just shedding blocks inside, knocking people back. I mean, this is a big old powerful guy. You know, he always played with some guys where he was like the little brother at Texas until this year. All right, but this guy is really, really good playing the run.
Yeah, never was able to get over 2 sacks in a single season during his 5 years at Texas. He kind of always wanted more, but what do we talk about? The traits versus production debate that reigns throughout the draft. Nearly 35-inch arms for Alfred Collins. The very best version of him was a dominant force for Texas. He had kind of his biggest season this past year. Now he lands in the second round.
He needs to improve his pass rush.
Yep. Let's see if he can do that for San Francisco.
With the 75th pick in the 2025 draft, San Francisco 49ers select Nick Martin, Oklahoma State, linebacker.
Nick Martin led the Big 12 with 135 tackles and added 6 sacks 2 years ago, then hurt his knee and missed the final 7 games of last season.
One of many players, Greeny, that was banged up this year, unfortunately. A season-ending injury happened the end of September. Up until that point, he was flying around the field making big plays, and against Arkansas, he had 16 tackles in that game against the Razorbacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 3 hurries. Fast to the football. He's 5'11 and a half, 222 pounds. You'll see it here. 4'5", 3 speed. He's a running back, linebacker in high school. 26 reps. He is powerful. 38 vertical. Tremendously athletic. That 2023 season, most tackles since 1984. That's 40 years in Oklahoma State. 16 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. He had 10 or more tackles in 6 games, Bug.
You could definitely see him in that weak side linebacker position. Robert Saleh is now back in San Francisco. He's going to use him off the ball, weak side linebacker, see ball, get ball, or run and hit, downhill backer, sideline to sideline.
You think John Lynch didn't say to Robert Saleh, I'm going to give you some stuff to work with. I'm going to give you some size up front, and I'm going to give you a guy who's just going to run around like a maniac and try and knock people's heads off. Fred Warner will take one of those to run as a running mate for sure.
With the 75th pick in the 2025 draft, San Francisco 49ers select Nick Martin, Oklahoma State, linebacker.
Dre Greenlaw's gone, CD. Yeah, but Nick Martin runs like Dre Greenlaw. I think that's a big part of what we have going on here. Missed 7 games in 2024 with a knee injury. 140 tackles, extremely productive in 2023. And every time you watch him, all you think, Joel, is speed. Every play that you see is a flash play. When I watch him do everything, whether he's rushing the pass or dropping in coverage, and DJ, when I see him often, spy, spy, spy versus the mobile quarterbacks. And anybody remember that game against Texas in the Big 12 championship game when he ran down Xavier Worthy from the middle of the field? I was actually surprised he ran slower at the combine than anticipated because of that speed I saw on film.
Yeah, which at 4.53 is nothing.
Which is not small.
Exactly.
But I thought he was going to end up running the 4.4s. But he is exactly what Robert Saleh is looking like. Because you know what he looks like? Those safeties that Robert Saleh liked to draft. and then turn them into linebackers. Right? Guys, Jermaine Smallwood, right? Damian Sherwood, and don't forget that the king of Damian Sherwood. Don't forget that the king of all of them is the guy who's playing there, Fred Warner in San Francisco.
And John Lynch loves production. You know, you think about the guys that he drafts, and think about 2 years ago, 2023, 16 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 140 tackles for Nick Martin. The only reason he didn't have that last year is he got banged up.
He got hurt. But he flashes all over the place.
With the 100th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Upton Stout, defensive back, Western Kentucky.
He's out of Houston, Texas. He's 5'8", and he's fast. Lewis ran 4.44 at the combine.
Yeah, he's just small. But he is tough as heck. Primarily played in the slot for Western Kentucky. They'd move him back to the back end and play a little bit of safety. But as a nickel corner, which is really what his specialty will be, this guy will bring it. He is twitchy, he's fluid, he's got good hips. He's a guy who is tough as heck as a blitzer, full-speed tackler. He'll battle wide receivers in stalk blocks situations, and he will chase the football. He's got some positional versatility, like I said. You can move him in the back end, play some split safety stuff, maybe put him in the middle of the field with his range and his closing quickness, but he's just small. So I think he's going to be a little bit limited in some of the positions that you can play him, especially when you're talking about on the outside against taller, more rangy wide receivers. That's not the matchup you want. But inside, this guy will get it done.
With the 100th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Upton Stout, defensive back, Western Kentucky.
Upton Stout's a good player. Started out North Texas and then ended up at Western Kentucky as a hilltopper. Reminded me of Ladarius Webb. You remember that old school Baltimore Ravens?
Feisty.
Super feisty, super sudden and tough. Ran in the 4.4s, mid 4.4s, jumped well. Fourth down, I'm watching the MTSU game, and he knifes through for a tackle for loss for a huge play in that ball game. There's just a competitiveness. I know he's not a big guy, CD, but I love the way he plays.
You know also had a comparison with Amir Robertson.
Yep.
Coming out of Louisiana Tech. Ball skills, production. Amik Robertson, thank you. Ball skills, production, right? Big time play, take on anyone. He's the kind of guy that you come down the hall, Joel, what you looking at? And then you realize it's the guy who's that you're looking down at, and then you realize you don't want to mess with it. He's that type of a player.
I always just think about, like, you know, when John Lynch is drafting a defensive back, like, you better have something to you. And
you have to pass a tough test.
That's exactly right.
And by the way, welcome back to the 49ers. Robert Saleh, all 4 draft choices of the 49ers so far on that side of the ball. So that's what's up in the Bay Area after a highly disappointing season, as we all know, for the San Francisco 49ers.
With the 100th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Upton Stout, defensive back, Western Kentucky.
Upton Stout has a clothing line. It's called Lazy Ways. I think he better not have lazy ways when he gets there and starts playing defensive back for San Francisco.
This must be one of those names rooted in irony, because there's nothing lazy about the way that Upton Stout plays on the football field. He's 167 pounds, 181 at one point on the roster, but the combine smaller than that. And this guy just packs a punch. This past season, 324 snaps as a slot corner, also had a bunch of snaps as a safety and also a perimeter corner. This guy flies around now. Watch him as an enforcer in the running game. He had an exposure against Alabama this past season. He was getting in there and mixing things up. Not too many cornerbacks that we talk about where we say, this guy likes to play behind the line of scrimmage. That's what this kid is about. Now, the size is going to be a concern. But last year, the 49ers took a safety out of Wake Forest, Malik Mustafa, in the 4th round, who was, to me, the most imposing hitter of all the defensive backs in the draft.
draft. Upton Stout doesn't have quite the same level of body armor, but he brings an intensity as a tackler that you can imagine was very enticing for 49ers old and new again defensive coordinator Robert Saleh.
And with the 113th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select C.J. West, defensive tackle, Indiana. Viva Mexico!
Vamos Niners!
C.J. West, a big part of that defense for Indiana, helped him get to the college football playoff after starting his career at Kent State.
Transfer portal really helped the Indiana Hoosiers. One of those key guys was C.J. West, coming from Kent State. You got to dominate Mid-American Conference. He did. Certainly production off the charts. 40 tackles this last year at Kent State, 7 tackles for us, and 43 tackles even as a true freshman at Kent State. Then he goes and transfers to Indiana, and all of a sudden now you expect, is he going to be handled? No, he wasn't. Strong, active hands. He's agile, he's quick, he plays hard. He is going to be disruptive. Talk about handling the run. He can stuff the run. He can get after the quarterback. That's where he can really, I think, be a major addition to this defense. 6'1 and a half, 317 pounds. Leverage, the intensity that he plays with. He shows, like I said, a couple sacks wasn't indicative of how well he was able to get after the quarterback in Indiana this year. I think this is one heck of a pick. This kid can play. I think he can be a good starter, maybe even a Pro Bowl caliber player in the NFL. I love CJ.
I loved him. I went down to the East West Shrine Bowl and watched him play and thought, where'd this come from? The quickness, the power at the line of scrimmage. The Niners have spent 3 picks now trying to rework this defensive line. He and Alfred Collins are going to be a really fun match together. C.J. West has a high upside as a one tech or a nose tackle.
And with the 113th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select C.J. West, defensive tackle, Indiana. Viva Mexico!
Vamos Niners!
5 for 5 on the defensive side of the ball.
This is a lot of wins for Robert Saleh, Rich. I mean, he has come in and back as a defensive coordinator, and he's got just about everything he wants here. This is a strong nose tech / one technique inside. You can't move him. More of a phone booth player. I thought the twitch is in his upper body more so than in his lower body, but against the run, and again, they're getting guys who can play the run on this defense. That's been an emphasis.
Great information there, and as always, for anyone from Indiana, if you want more information, just go to Google.
And with the 138th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jordan Watkins, wide receiver, Mississippi. Go Niners! Yeah!
Jordan Watkins was one of the favorite targets of Jackson Dart. He had 9 touchdown catches, tied for the most in the Southeastern Conference, and step up his game after Trey Harris was hurt later on in the season for the Rebels.
I was at that game at the University of Arkansas without Trey Harris. Jordan Watkins went off. He can run past coverage. He's undersized, but his quickness as a slot receiver, his smooth route running, and he has a natural feel in space. So he seems to be effective on some of those short area concepts that the Niners love. Option routes, good field. He's also just going to put it into low gear and run right by you when he gets space.
PSA or heads up to our Auburn viewer, our Arkansas viewers that are out there listening. He had 5 touchdowns against you. It might have been the best single game performance that I studied this entire past season at the college football level. Of course, a couple of other wide receivers in that Ole Miss offense. Trey Harris already having been drafted. This might have been the 3rd option in some people's eyes. The 2nd off the board, but a really good slot receiver with some legit speed that Matt just referenced.
But you know, Reese, I mean, that's something that Lane Kiffin would tell you down there when Trey got hurt. He really did step in, and they really didn't lean on him, and he accepted the challenge. He's a guy who's not the most physically imposing wide receiver, but he's got a tremendous competitive engine. and he took a hold of he took the bull by the horns and really shouldered the responsibility in the passing game.
Ended up leading the nation in touchdown catches of 50 yards or longer. He had 5 of them. So Jordan Watkins is going to team with Brock Purdy and company in San Francisco, and you see what the 49ers have done. That pick of Jordan Watkins, the final one in round 4.
And with the 138th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jordan Watkins, wide receiver, Mississippi. Go Niners! Yeah!
So I think this is about, what, the 4th or 5th wideout we've had that's a 4-3 wideout that's gone just in this 4th round. I mean, it's incredible. He ran 4.37. I was a little bit surprised he ran that fast. I thought he'd be more in the high 4.4s. But this guy can play inside, outside. You watch the goal line fade work. To me, that's what I got excited about, because he can adjust and go get the ball down there in the red zone. Another one, to me, CD, I think he's best on the move. You look at his teammate, Trey Harris, I thought was a little more fluid and smooth coming back down the stem. He was a little bit better getting him on the move.
I like what you talk about there. Go ahead and explain that just a little bit more when you're about on the move versus him running those type of routes where you're going to cut inside and present yourself to the quarterback.
Yeah, when you got to settle, drop your weight, get in and out of the break. I didn't know that was his strength, but to me, goes, crossers, posts, that's where he's at his best.
When he catches it on the move, he's moving past people.
With the 147th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jordan James, running back, Oregon.
You know, Buck, as I think about it, you were just telling me, hey, it's a quarterback factory in Philadelphia. I'd say in San Francisco, they figure out a way to make the running back room work very well.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing about the San Francisco 49ers. They may feel like they can manufacture and create running backs. Going all the way back, the Shanahan's kind of created this running back thing that many people subscribe to in terms of, hey, let's take one late, let's let them earn it. What I do know about the Niners, Bobby Turner has always been a guy that can identify running backs that really fit the system. This guy's a nice fit for the system. So even though they've gone away from some of that outside zone stuff and mixed in some gap stuff, they still look for the same things, the same traits work for them.
Yeah, Jordan James has a lot of the Jordan Mason qualities to him that worked really well before he got hurt. He is a one-cut back, can make very, very sharp cuts, very quick stop, start, change of direction stuff. But he's got good power, above average power for his size.
Stay inside that division, the Los Angeles Rams, their pick is in.
With the 160th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Marquise Siegel, defensive back, Kansas State.
All right, so we got a safety off the board, and once again, it is another defensive player on his way to the Bay Area. 3 picks last season for him, Buck.
Yeah, 3 picks last season, and when we're looking at DBs, man, we're looking at these high-quality guys that can make a play. He kind of looks like he has the ability to not only play outside, but can come inside and make some things happen when we talk about the safety position. Playing downhill, making plays on the ball, see and break player in terms of vision and break, being able to play in zone. Kind of like what he's shown on tape. He flashes, and that's going to give him an opportunity to kind of make some plays.
He ran a 4.37 40 at combine, and I saw a play on tape where he ranges over the top. And, well, here's one of them right here.
Here you go.
I mean, you've got a chance right now to get yourself a single high safety who can play and range from sideline to sideline with 4.37 speed. And it's not always easy to find those kind of safeties. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So he's got some serious athleticism and range over the top is what he's got at 4.37.
the quarterback of Indiana University, just went, and he went to San Francisco. Okay, so Rourke is going to back up Brock Purdy, or at least be in the same quarterback room.
Same quarterback room. Why not go with a late-round quarterback again, see if he can hit lightning twice here?
How about the toughness?
Played with a torn ACL, and 24 years old, his Ohio U transfer. Gets quickly through his progressions. I thought he had kind of a nice, calm, quiet delivery, a lot of RPOs in this offense. I think he had a big arm, but he could avoid pressure, and the athleticism, considering what he was dealing with health-wise, is impressive.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about Taylor Elgersma as the Canadian quarterback. People forget Curtis Rourke from Canada as well.
Day 3 work that the 49ers have done, which includes another Curt Cignetti player, Curtis Rourke, who we didn't get a chance to talk about. Brother Nathan, of course, played in the NFL, now in the CFL. Curtis, great career at Ohio, but was just phenomenal as a leader and a quarterback for the Hoosiers this year.
Absolutely. And look, Jordan Watkins is going to catch 1,000,000 passes in that offense. 1,000,000 passes. Him and Ricky Pierce, it's going to be incredible, those two.
And with the 249th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Connor Colby, guard out of Iowa.
All right, so there you go. The Niners hit the offensive line here.
And every draft is contractually obligated to have an Iowa guard, so you knew that was going to come here with Connor Colby. That right guard, you'll see him pull, locate, kind of gather, play under control. He can catch and absorb and pass protection. Can get a little bit top-heavy at times. That's an area he can work on. But when you've started 50 games in college and you come out of Iowa, you stick and you play in the NFL. Those are the rules.
Yeah, head coach has a heavy hand in what the line play there, doesn't he? You've been to those Iowa practices, haven't you? You want to find Kirk Ferentz? He's down there with the offensive line.
He's always there.
Board for one of these compensatory selections at the end of round 7, late at the end of round 7. Connor Colby, guard from Iowa, going to the Niners. I always love when we get this late in the draft and you find scheme fits that just make sense. Connor Colby is an excellent zone blocker. The 49ers, they want to run that zone scheme under Kyle Shanahan. This is exactly what he does, and he has experience. He's played right guard, left guard, right tackle. This past year, he was first team All-Big Ten. Year before that, third team All-Big Ten. So he has some of that ability as a puller, as a trapper, and the ability to get out in space and make plays. And there are times where he plays a little bit high at 6'6", 310 pounds. If he can get that pad level down, the quickness is exactly what the Niners need at offensive guard.
He should fit right in, Fields.
Yeah, the only thing I'm glad that we saw in that picture has an elite mullet as well, which has to be factored in during the scouting report at some point in the process.
With the 252nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Junior Bergen, wide receiver, Montana.
We could talk a little bit about the explosiveness in the return game. Led FCS play 3 punt return touchdowns, actually tied the FCS record with 8 career punt return touchdowns. So once again, a little bit of a theme late in the draft where you talk about guys who can make an impact in different ways, and this on special teams.
Yeah, short area quickness for him and shiftiness is where he's going to have to make his money. It's going to have to be probably in the return game when you think about what he, but look, he's got in that level. He had some dominant games in that level, but teams is probably the answer here on why they're taking him with this 7th round pick.